Stop for a moment, because one small hidden muscle may be silently controlling your posture, your movement, and your risk of injury more than any muscle you train. There may be no muscle more critical to the biomechanical function of the human body than the psoas, yet it remains one of the most misunderstood and neglected muscles. This is largely because it sits so deep within the core that it can't be seen or felt from the outside. In fact, most people don't even know it exists. But learning what the psoas does and how to train it correctly can do more to keep your body strong, balanced, and injury-free than focusing on almost any other single muscle. Over the next 5 minutes, we'll break down what the psoas is, how it works, and how adjusting your training can help you maintain proper psoas health. The psoas lies deep inside the core, originating near the upper lumbar spine, traveling downward across the pelvis, and attaching to the inner portion of the femur. On a lean muscular body, you can estimate the origin of the psoas by locating the lowest point of the lower trapezius muscles on the spine. This marks where the psoas begins. Its most well-known function is powerful hip flexion. Several other muscles assist with hip flexion, including the rectus femoris and sartorius, but only up to about 90 degrees. Beyond that point, the psoas, along with its sister muscle, the iliacus, becomes the primary driver. These two muscles share a common tendon on the thigh and are collectively known as the iliopsoas. The psoas functions as a keystone muscle in the body, meaning dysfunction here triggers compensations throughout the core, legs, and often the entire kinetic chain. Common signs of psoas dysfunction include hip popping or pain, lower back discomfort, SI joint irritation, and persistent stiffness in the hips and lumbar spine. How the psoas affects posture and skeletal alignment has long been misunderstood. A tight psoas is often blamed for anterior pelvic tilt, yet it's also implicated in posterior pelvic tilt, despite these being opposite postural patterns. This confusion exists because most people think of the psoas only as a hip flexor. While it is a powerful hip flexor, research has shown that the psoas contains two distinct fiber groups: superficial and deep fibers. These fibers attach to different parts of the vertebrae, creating slightly different angles of pull. The superficial fibers contribute to hip and lumbar flexion, while the deep fibers can actually assist in extending and stabilizing the spine when contracted. Adding to the complexity, many people don't just have a tight psoas, others have a weak, overstretched psoas or dysfunction in the iliacus instead. Each variation can produce similar postural issues. It's also common to see asymmetry, where one psoas is tight while the other is weak and elongated. This imbalance can lead to hip hiking, functional scoliosis, and chronic low back or hip pain, making pain-free training feel impossible. The key takeaway is that psoas dysfunction is widespread and often complicated. Rather than overanalyzing, it's more effective to understand what the psoas is meant to do in a healthy body. Although hip flexion is one of its strongest actions, it isn't the psoas' primary role. Humans spend far more time standing and walking than actively flexing the hips, and the psoas is heavily involved in both. While standing, it stabilizes the lower spine and helps maintain the natural lumbar curve. During walking, the psoas initiates each step and maintains rhythm, functioning like a pendulum swinging smoothly through the center of the body. These small core movements translate into larger limb movements as the hips and legs follow the lead of the psoas. When the psoas is tight, weak, or poorly coordinated, many people compensate by initiating movement with the quadriceps, particularly the rectus femoris. This results in stiff, inefficient walking mechanics, increased energy use, and dysfunctional compensation patterns throughout the body. While it's possible to analyze the exact cause of your individual psoas issues, for most people this level of complexity isn't necessary. Simply becoming aware of the psoas and including functional training for it is often enough to restore proper function and dramatically improve overall biomechanics. There are 3 practical ways to train the psoas according to its true function. First, learn how to release it. Releasing excess tension allows immediate improvements in movement and can significantly reduce SI joint pain, hip popping, and lumbar discomfort. While release techniques are often temporary, they provide relief and create space for more permanent corrections. One of the simplest methods is deep diaphragmatic breathing. The psoas is fascially connected to the diaphragm, and slow, deep breathing helps stimulate blood flow and gently massage the muscle internally. Manual release from a trained therapist can also be effective. Or you can perform self-release using blunt tools like a lacrosse ball or a specialized psoas release device. Because major nerves and arteries pass near the psoas, precision and caution are essential. The second step is strengthening and stretching the psoas. This requires a reliable hip flexor stretch, such as a kneeling lunge stretch, combined with strengthening exercises that reach or exceed 90 degrees of hip flexion. Certain isometric positions, like yoga warrior poses or traditional martial arts stances, can effectively combine both strengthening and stretching. Finally, you must learn how to use the psoas correctly. Muscles don't move on their own. Movement patterns are learned behaviors. Many people correct muscle imbalances, yet remain stuck in faulty posture simply because they haven't learned how to stand or move differently. Without new habits, dysfunction returns. If you found this useful, like the video, subscribe, and enable notifications for future content. Train smart, move well, and keep progressing.